Domestic Estate Manager Studios in Grosse Pointe, Michigan. It's the nation's #1 podcast series in the private service industry. It's time for DEMA Live. Now, here are your hosts, Matt and Mike.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of DEMA Live. I am your host, Matthew Hack, and today we will continue our road to the 2013 DEMA Convention podcast series. Today I'm joined by Chris Young. Mr. Young is the Executive Director of the Protocol School of Washington, the first and only accredited institute of higher education and training devoted to protocol, cross-cultural communication and literacy, and global business etiquette. In addition to teaching in the classroom, he holds direct responsibility for the primary functioning units of the school, including curriculum and content development, marketing and sales, alumni relations, and finance and administration. Mr. Young most recently served as Chief of Protocol and Director of International Affairs for the state of Georgia. He received his appointment from Governor Sonny Perdue in April 2005 and was the first individual to hold this post. Governor Nathan Deal reappointed him in January 2011. In that role, Mr. Young has served as the state's senior diplomatic officer and handled matters of foreign affairs on behalf of governor. He organized visits for over 200 presidents, vice presidents, ministers, and ambassadors of the state, as well planned and executed gubernatorial and senior official missions to 25 foreign countries. Hello, Chris. Welcome to DEMA Live.
Hi, Matt. Good to talk to you today.
Well, Chris, before we get started in talking a little bit more about the convention and what you're going to be presenting on, first let me compliment you. You have quite the resume, and I would like you to explain a little bit more about how you got your start in the world of protocol and etiquette.
Sure. Well, currently I serve as the Executive Director of the Protocol School of Washington, and the Protocol School of Washington, or PSOW, is the only institute in the United States that's accredited to teach international protocol, global business etiquette, cross-cultural communications and literacy, and the like. We have accredited courses in protocol officer training and specifically in global business etiquette, and also teaching others how to be a consultant in these fields. And I've been here almost a year and a half now as the executive director, running the basic operations of the school, the curriculum development, alumni relations, marketing, and a few other key pieces. I came to the school by way of the state of Georgia. I was Chief of Protocol and Director of International Affairs for the state of Georgia, a political appointment in Atlanta for 2 successive gubernatorial administrations.
Well, I am really excited to hear you present at this year's convention. So with that being said, you and I got together a few months ago, and we were able to talk a little bit about protocol and etiquette. And one of the interesting topics that came up is actually the topic that you're going to be presenting at the convention this year, which is the impact of social media on protocol and etiquette.
Right.
And just to give a little bit of background how you and I kind of got on that discussion is we were talking a little bit about Downton Abbey,
right,
and the help and kind of comparing the estate manager of today versus the butler from then, and how the times have changed around the actual job, but has the actual protocol and etiquette changed all that much?
Right.
And so I think in talking about that, we came up with the idea of having you give a presentation regarding that. So with that being said, what do you feel is the most important part of the impact of social media on protocol and etiquette today that you're seeing?
It changes the game completely on how information is disseminated and, more importantly, how relationships are built and maintained. So I think maybe the greatest example, contemporary example, is one that we saw exceptionally recently, and that was the birth of the royal baby in Great Britain, Prince George. For centuries, the tradition has always been that, and protocol has dictated that the baby's announcement, the heir in the direct line of the throne, the announcement would come on a sheet of paper on palace stationery and be put in a frame and be put on an easel in the forecourt of the palace. Now, they did that. They did that for Prince William. They did that for Prince Charles. They did that for Princess Elizabeth, and so forth and so on. But what was interesting is that for the first time ever, that news was initially disseminated on purpose by the palace on Twitter and other social media feeds through Facebook. And I think it was an exceptional tip of the cap to the reality that not only do their subjects in this case, or the people of the United Kingdom and the people of the various realms, not only do they have great dexterity and great use of, or frequent use of, social media, but that it is a new generation, and that they are keen to marry the old tradition with the new ways of doing things, lest they lose touch with the reality of a 21st century society. And I think if you step back from that example and examine what we do in our daily work and what we do in our daily professional lives, that resonates, because at the end of the day, much of what we do for our principal figures, for our bosses, much of what we do is so that they can do their business better. Does the household run at highest efficiency so they don't have to worry about whatever it is, if they're hosting guests that come in, or if they're just there on the weekend, or if it's their regular place of business at the same time as their home? Is everything taken care of all these details taken care of? That's our ultimate goal. That's our ultimate desire. And to do that, we have to have keen and sharp relationships, not only with them and their families, but the people who come and visit them at the households. Social media has completely redefined how we make those relationships. It's not just a face-to-face, Matt and I meeting each other on the street, greeting each other, going in for a cup of coffee. Now we're confirming everything by email. Now we're tweeting about it when it's done. Now we're posting a picture about it on Facebook. And you start putting all those things in a stew, and you realize that we're no longer in the world where people just knocked on the door, and if you weren't there, they left a business card and a silver calling tray. Or that, when they came, they brought a hostess gift, and that was the end of it. And if they took a picture, it was 3 months later that they got it, who was autographed, and it was autographed by the person they went to see. Now it's instantaneous. And of course, with that, it brings up all kinds of concerns. It brings up concerns of anonymity and privacy. It brings up concerns of security. And we have to find a way to balance all of those. So I think looking to the past and seeing how ideas and how protocol and etiquette informed visits and informed the way we managed households, the way we interacted with each other, and look how those mediums are changing now. I think that's an extraordinarily instructive thing, particularly when we're talking about the important business of making relationships and then making those relationships work for the people who need them to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about that, I think it's extremely important to recognize exactly what you kind of hit the nail on the head, so to speak, when you were talking about taking a little bit from the past and melting it with the present. One of the difficult things that I think a lot of private service professionals out there struggle with is that anonymity that we're talking about, the confidentiality, the boundaries. When can you do certain things, and when should you do something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, like sit down and send a handwritten thank you?
Exactly, and that's in this session. That's one of the things that we'll talk about because at the end of the day, one of the things that people still gravitate toward is anything that shows care, that shows authenticity. People crave that. Think about when you go to the mailbox and you open the mailbox and you throw away all the circulars that are just junk, and you throw away the bills because you don't want to deal with them. What do you look for in the mailbox? If somebody has sent you a handwritten thank you note or a handwritten postcard from their travels, it makes a smile come across your face. I mean, I can think about it now, and I think about those times when my grandparents would be traveling all over the place when I was a kid, and I'd run to the mailbox and I'd open up. I was looking for that. Now, do you get that same excitement from an email? No, most people don't. Do you get that same excitement from a Facebook post? No, you don't. Or a tweet, or a LinkedIn message, or whatever the case may be, an Instagram picture. Most people don't get that same level of excitement. And when I say excitement, I'm talking about that warm feeling that comes from personalization of anything, where we really feel like we are special. And again, if our goal is for our bosses, our principal figures, to have everything that they need to make their daily lives work better, which in protocol is an exceptionally important thing, be it a governor or a president or corporate CEO, it doesn't matter who that person might be. If that's our goal, then of course we want the person with whom they're interacting to have that smile on their face. But we have to balance all of that with the realities that today's media, and I mean sources of media, so Facebook, those kinds of things, say social media, it doesn't always allow us, the time to be personal, because that's one huge thing that social media has created, the beast of an instantaneous society, and that we have to have everything now, and
right.
It has to be immediate, and so people aren't willing to wait for a handwritten this or a thank you note that comes right, or wait for a phone call or call on people the same way. They want it right there. They want to Skype. They want to have a FaceTime chat. They don't want to wait to see each other face to face. So with that, all of that in mind, it doesn't always lend itself to the kind of quote unquote old school tactics and the old school ways and modalities of doing things that informed protocol and etiquette for centuries. But there is a way to marry the two, and that's something we should always be talking about. Where is that line drawn? And then on top of that, one of the extraordinarily important things, and it is an ethical consideration. If you are running a household, if you're managing affairs, sometimes you have to step in the gap, especially when guests come, and know what the appropriate behavior is for them with social media. Can they take a picture of the dining room when they're in there and then put it out on Instagram for everyone to look at, or Snapchat, or can they, post it on their Facebook site? What about the other people who work in the household? I mean, there are times when we have celebrities or high-ranking people. We always want to get a picture, and sometimes folks are gracious enough to give us a photograph, but what do we do with it then? Is it appropriate for us to put it on Facebook? Because for every point that we have of displaying things in social media or putting it out there, two things happen. One, it's instantaneous, so there's no thought that goes, there's no vetting of this. It's there. And so sometimes things that are put there quickly, we don't want to be there. And the second thing is it's there forever. And you lose that anonymity, and privacy, and that's very important. And some of it all goes back to what our principals want us to do, but some of it goes to good, common, professional sense, and then adopting a platform and sticking to it through our professional lives.
Yeah, and I think that those are all extremely important points, and I think that one of the other points that I'm looking forward to in your presentation is being able to communicate to the private service professionals that they can actually be a leader by example to the principals that they work for, whether it's going that extra mile or the extra step. The principals are always watching, and they're always intaking everything that private service professional is doing. Whether or not that comes out in daily conversation or not, that's a whole nother story. But at least they can lead, by example. So I'm really looking forward to your presentation, and I think it's going to be something that is very valuable to any of the attendees that are going to be at the convention. Now, when we first talked, and obviously I had to explain to you a little bit about the association and what we do, but what was the reasoning behind you saying yes, that you would present to this particular group of individuals?
Right. I think at the very outset, there is a natural linkage, a natural synergy between people who work like I do, work in protocol and work in etiquette and have been for a long period of time, and then private service professionals who will be in attendance at this conference. There's a very, very natural fit because many times what I have found is that people who work in these professions, sometimes they feel like they're on an island by themselves, and they don't always feel like people understand who they are and what it is that they do, and they sometimes feel like they have I hate to say it like this, but sometimes they feel like they really don't have any friends out there who've experienced the common struggles and speak the common language and work with common problems like they do. And then all of a sudden they go to a conference like this and they realize not only do I have people who do what I do, but there are people these services for household management, or for people who, like in my world, who provide services for governors and for mayors and for corporate CEOs, maybe in the office instead of at the home. They're all doing the same thing. They're all creating the right conditions in their own way for business or diplomacy or whatever it is to succeed. That, at the end of the day, that's all our ultimate goal, that everything, that the trains run on time, that everything looks the way it is, and so that our principals can do their business and do it well without any sort of hassle or interruption or anything going wrong. So when you and I began to talk, I thought, gosh, there's a natural fit. It's like a magnet, two ends of a magnet that go together. There's a natural fit there. So I think that from my perspective, from the perspective of the Protocol School of Washington, I think there's an opportunity to learn from leading industry professionals about what's happening in your particular industry, but also share from our end, and then work to marry the two together. So I think that the timing couldn't be better for that, and I think that as we continue and progress in time, one of the most significant things that I see professionally, and trends that I see professionally, is cross collaboration, cross-disciplinary collaboration, especially among cousins, in the industry.
Right.
And I think that's what I'm most looking forward to, and I'm quite eager to meet the attendees and to spend some time there and learn myself.
As are we. We're very eager to get to September and be able to bring everyone together to be able to learn, to be able to network, and be able to share stories and thoughts and best practices and all the items that go along with the DEMA Convention. So we're really excited about that. So with that being said, Chris, if someone wants to get in touch with you prior to the convention, or they may have some questions, how would they go about doing that?
Absolutely. They can give me a call at 202-575-5600. That's 202-575-5600. Or, because I do travel quite a great bit, shoot me an email anytime. That's chris.young@psow.edu. That's chris.young@p, as in Papa, sow.edu.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to do the podcast. We're looking forward to having you at the convention. And until then, I wish you safe travels.
Thanks so much, Matt. We'll see you soon.
Thanks to my guest, Mr. Chris Young. And as always, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to another DEMA Live podcast. If you're interested in more information on how you can become a part of this year's convention in September, visit the convention website at www.demaconvention.com. Once again, that's www.demaconvention.com. Stay tuned for more great podcasts with presenters from this year's DEMA Convention. Until next time, I've been your host, Matthew Hack. And remember, as George Bernard Shaw said so eloquently, life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself.